Let's talk a little bit about LMDs, because it really is frustrating that we have to wait so long for some of these issues, and we keep getting put off and put off and put off. And one of these is the center medians, which is LMD 2008-1, and that is 27 miles of center medians that is maintained by a contractor. And the median conditions are deteriorating, particularly on Soledad, east of Sierra Highway. They're getting worse. Plants are dying. The maintenance folks pull out the dead plants and then they don't replant. But I want you to realize that the median maintenance is outsourced. And on December of 2013, the City Council approved another $500,000 for 4 contractors to monitor and report on median maintenance. So let me get this straight. The city contracts out the maintenance, and then they contract out monitoring the contractors that do the maintenance. And then I'm sure someone in the city monitors whether the contractors that monitor the maintenance are doing their job too. That's great. So in 2015, when we started complaining about this, we actually made a video, and we showed it here, and we also went to staff and showed them what these things look like and on the east side. And they hopefully they ever come over here to the east side. You know, I don't know. Isn't that interesting? But these are the 4 current contract companies that are responsible for monitoring 39 of the 55 independent LMDs at a combined cost of $500,000. And so then they authorize the city manager to execute this for an additional 1 year, beginning in year 2. And, you know, this was the thing that I ended up putting in a public records request for. And I said, show me the results of all of this. And they gave me a ton of stuff. I mean, I was really interested in LMD 2008-1, but to make a long story short, what they use these contractors for is to take complaints from citizens. That's one of the things that they do. They say, you know what? They have them do list the resident concerns, and then pass on that information to the contractor that does the maintenance, who then has to probably request whether they can do any planting, and all of that goes along. But I had this long sheet of what they did. And they coordinate with the landscape contractors. They also, the primary thing that I saw that they do, because I saw all of the issues about that, they go out and then they evaluate the condition of the irrigation equipment. You know that stuff. It's the stuff that sprays water over the top of the medians into the roadway. And so whenever there's a problem with that, that's part of their job as well. But they do not monitor the replacement of dead or missing plants. Right? It kind of reminds me, you know what it kind of reminds me of? It reminds me of the commercial. It reminds me of a commercial on television, you know, the one where the guy goes to the dentist and the guy says, that's really a big cavity. You saw that commercial? And they said, well, Doc, when are you going to fix it? He says, oh, I'm not a dentist. I monitor things. And I tell you that you have a big cavity. Right? So here we go. It's kind of the same kind of deal. Now, I asked, look, if this isn't going to be a temporary solution, and why are we contracting this out? Why don't we hire some city employees and have them do this? And what they told me was that the city staff claim is that the monitoring contractors provide an equivalent of 6 full-time employees for $500,000. I kind of look at that, means they must be paying them $11 an hour. So that's the rationale they gave me. So on July the 12th, they wanted to give a 6-month extension to the for Oak Ridge Landscaping to do LMD 2008-1, not to exceed $352,000. And I went up and I said, guys, we've been telling you about problems with the landscapes for a year. We were told wait till spring. Said we can't do anything now, guys. It's in the wintertime. Wait till spring. We'll replant. It's now summer, and there's still more dead plants, and we currently have bigger examples of barren and dead plants that exist along Soliday Canyon Roadway, and other places that we can show you. And they went, oh, well, we only are renewing this contract for 6 months to give us time to contract it out so we can get a new contractor. It must be the contractor's fault, right? And then I had another city employee grab me and say, well, you know, before we had problems with the soil. So we replanted once, right, Mr. Drew? But now we've been experimenting with a new plant for the last year that has been thriving. So we'll be replanting this new green plant. And it's a green plant that evidently has red flowers. Rick tells me the flowers are gone now. But so we're in the same place we were. And we spend a lot of money on this stuff, and we don't get anything done. And so fear not, I will be on their case to find out when those plants are going to get planted. And I mean, that's part of the job of what, 3 to 5 years? Well, you know what? I'm glad you mentioned 3 to 5 years. Because the interjurisdictional meeting is headed by the mayor and mayor pro tem. And what they've demonstrated to me conclusively is they know nothing about project management. Because all those meetings do, every meeting, is they go around the table and they say, what did you do? And you hear blah, 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 blah. And I'll ask you a question. I'll say, well, how does that affect the end date? And they go, oh, no, doesn't affect the end date. You know, yeah, we have to wait so much for this, but no, we can absorb it, doesn't affect the end date. And then every year, they put off the completion for another year. This is not project management. This is project dragging your feet, right? So this is the same situation. And we'll just have to see. But I'm going to continue to be after them, and we'll start making more noise about it. So anybody got any questions? Yes, ma'am.
These last two things you were talking about, the median and the open spaces, when I voted on those, there was one vote for our house, and one of them, if I'm not mistaken, didn't pass, so they came back. And did they give a portion of that vote to the developers?
Well, when they do equivalent benefit units, yes. It turns out that in both cases, if a developer has an entitlement, meaning that they're approved to build so many houses, since they own that property, they vote as if those houses were built.
Do you see that vote ever coming up again, where a portion of the vote is given to the developers?
Yes.
I would lead a revolution.
See, let me explain a little bit more about that. You can go places and you can hear someone say, we don't have any mellow roofs, which means, you know, we don't have any external fees, right? But if you might have been watching a city council meeting, and this is very common, so I'm not banging on Vista Canyon Ranch for doing this, but they just did it recently. They'll come up and form a district before the properties are built, and then they'll determine an assessment for an item on that property. And then when the built and sold, that assessment goes to the property owner. So they might say, we don't have any mellow roofs, but they can form districts and place a burden on the property owners that way. So yes, that's absolutely true. Vacant land is done a little bit differently, but entitled land is done as if the developer gets a vote as if the thing was built. Yes. That's true. And the only way we're going to change that is to make that known when, because typically when you have, this is also a protest ballot. And so in order to defeat it, you have to bring in 50% plus one vote. That never happens. And the only time I've ever seen them back down on doing something like this, they back down the first time on the first time for open space, because the number of protests were so large they'd never seen it before. So even though it wasn't 50% plus one, they said, hold on, wait a minute, we're going to stop and rethink it. So when we see this kind of stuff come up and we think it's not a fair thing to do, we've got to react. Okay?